Now, a new law forcing people not to neglect the elderly has been used for the first time in China. A court has ordered a woman to visit her elderly mother at least once every 2 months or pay compensation. The woman also has to visit her mother on at least 2 national holidays a year. Well, we were intrigued by this, so let's join Anne-Marie Tomchak, who's in the World's Newsroom now. Of course, it'll strike a chord in lots of countries, especially given an ageing global population.
Yes, well, this law, Michelle, has been designed to support China's ageing population, and as we have seen on the media, it's posing a huge challenge for China. At the moment, the number of people aged 60 or over is approaching the 200 million mark, and the government says that that's expected to reach more than 350 million by 2030. And I'm joined by Yuwen Wu of the BBC's Chinese service to just find out a little bit more about this legislation and about China's future with its ageing population. Yuwen, can you give us a little bit more background about this case?
Yes, this case was the first one under the new law, which encourages or requests adult children to visit their elder parents, especially those aged 60 and above. Now, the case was brought about by a woman who is 77, and she obviously signed an agreement with her daughter some years back so that she would sell her house and her daughter would look after her. But, you know, the daughter and mother fell out last year, so the mother had to move out, and she complained to the court that the daughter never paid any rent and medical expenses as well. And also, on top of that, she didn't visit her.
Well, there seems to have been huge reaction on social media to this, Yuwen.
Yes, absolutely. You'll hear people for the law, against the law, and also arguing that the practicality of the law are simply not there for people to implement this piece of legislation.
Well, we've got a selection of some of the comments that people have made. Some have been supportive. Zhang Longyuan says that given that many children nowadays don't have any moral standard, it's good to have the law. But there's much more room for improvement on the details, and lots of voices against the law. Here's an example. Zhao Zhu says visiting one's parents is an ethical issue and should not be stipulated by the law. And there are lots of people also asking about the finer details of the law. Lang Zhu asks, so how often is often? Once a week? Once every 6 months? And what constitutes a visit? You can bring some money and fruit, or you can drop by and leave. So there's like an element of sarcasm to some of those comments that are coming in.
It's quite typical of how people in China think about this law, this piece of legislation. And it's interesting you ask how often is often. Now today, the judge ruled in this case that the daughter should visit her mother at least every 2 months. So that might have set a precedent for people who shy away from this duty. But that raises another issue. Suppose you don't live in the same city as your folks. Twice every 2 months is quite a lot of journey, a lot of money to make these trips. So it's really far from clear how in the end people are going to implement the law.
Yuwen of the Chinese service, thank you very much for joining us. Well, that's all we have time for today, but you can get this story and lots more on the BBC website, bbc.com/news, and do keep sending your comments into our Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC World News.
Thanks very much, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie Tomchak in the World's Newsroom.